Hello, I'm Kelly Dean. I'm the National Executive Director and co-founder of abuserefuge.org. Today I'm going to be talking about pathological lying. A pathological liar is a person who lacks possession of his or her own ability to know the truth. Knowing the truth and telling the truth are two distinct beasts in themselves. Knowing the truth denotes a sense of understanding of the reality at hand. Telling the truth is the acceptance or the denial of conveying said truth in its original form. And there is a big difference. Decisions are often made both consciously and subconsciously to lie. We as humans utilize many factors when conveying our truths. Likewise, for many reasons that are too lofty to explain here, most people lie either for the sake of lying to cover up one's guilt, to distort a view about themselves, or even to convince someone of their ruse. Pathological lying comes in many forms. First, there are people who influence our lives on a daily basis who pretty much lie for sport. The difference between a liar and a pathological liar is that oftentimes pathological liars tend to agree with their own lie. Now, I didn't say believe their own lies. I said agree with their own lies. And the everyday run-of-the-mill liar is normally not in agreement with his or her lie. He just does it because it's convenient. You're probably asking yourself, how is this possible? Well, the answers are quite complex, but I will do my level best to explain. First of all, it must be understood that not only does someone else pathologically lie to you, but a great portion of the time, you'll end up pathologically lying to yourself as well, just to accommodate the pathological liar's series of subterfuge, or maintain his or her facade, or keep it from shattering. We inherently want to believe the other person who's lying. So, on its face, we accept what that person is telling us. So we tend to catalog it as truth. No matter how strange the lie, we find ways to get comfortable with storing it as truth. What occurs oftentimes over many years, especially during childhood, if we are constantly bombarded with untruths or variations of the truth, we become accustomed to not only believing those lies, but also we learn to lie to ourselves. And more often than not, we get pretty good at it. People will lie for reasons of low self-esteem, aggrandizement, or to make themselves look bigger, to hide an unsavory truth, to achieve an unearned status, or to get comfortable with some type of abuse. There are many other reasons why people lie, but for this video, we will concentrate on these. On my journey towards becoming whole and towards realizing self, the first thing I had to do was to stop lying to myself. I spent years accommodating trickery, lies, subterfuge, abuse, and torment, just to name a few. All because I convinced myself over the years that the untruthfulness of my life was in actuality believed by me to be true. That reminds me, I was watching a movie the other day, and Julia Roberts' character in Pretty Woman said, "People put you down enough, you'll start to believe it. The bad stuff is easier to believe." You ever notice that? For many years, that was me. Although I was extremely uncomfortable throughout my childhood and early adult life with issues like self-esteem, bullying, as well as having many narcissistic people around me, I remember deep down inside and I couldn't put my finger on it, but I knew something was not right. You see, once you've been beaten down enough, you begin to expect that tragedy. You expect to have that pain and suffering, and they just become normal parts of your everyday life. It's not that you want to be in pain. No, however, I just didn't know I had a choice not to be. I had been lied to so much and from so many directions that even within my own subconscious and my dreams, I further reinforced those lies upon myself. Over the years, from workshops, self-help books, to individual and group therapies, I had just about tried everything to help me to pinpoint the roots of my unclear and ambiguous existence. What I found is that there are only programs to teach you to treat the symptoms and to also help you to maintain a semblance of balance while holding on for dear life. I quickly realized that this was simply not enough. I must share with you that it was a balancing act from hell. If I go left, I fall. If I go right, I fall. There was no rest for the weary. The mere practice of trying to maintain useful what I had been taught about treating the symptoms was more stressful and exhausting than my condition itself. Needless to say, I failed, and I failed miserably. I knew there had to be something out there that could help me. But what, I asked? The what that has eluded me my entire life. You see, my condition was that I somehow learned how to depend on my pain and suffering as it was as natural to me as taking a breath of air. Even though I had many examples of people and situations around me who never seemed to experience the kind of pain that I experienced, I still functioned on a level as what I considered to be normal, even with my pain. All I could think of was, this was just too damn unfair. I asked myself the same question almost every single day. What can I do to rid myself of this pain? I tried psychologists, counselors, best friends, parents, boyfriends, AA, Al-Anon. More to discuss on that later. You name it, I tried it, and nothing seemed to work. I would have temporary episodes of happiness and control at times in my life, followed by absolute chaos and destruction. This had to stop. And then one day, a friend of mine asked me a question that got me to thinking. He asked me, Kelly, do you lie to yourself? My answer almost immediately was no. He then said, well, I beg to differ. This one question literally changed my life because that very same night, I pondered that question in the most intense manner I could possibly even think of. When I tell you my head hurt after thinking about it, that was an understatement. So of course, I am a glutton for punishment. So I started to strike up another conversation with my friend again about the possibility of me lying to myself. Because I had no way of believing that at this point in my life that I was actually lying to myself. So we began to talk and talk and talk and talk. And every time I opened up to explain myself to him, he called me a liar. And I swear, I thought I was honest to God telling the truth. He then said something to me that insulted me greatly, and I think I abruptly ended the call after he said it. However, what he said gave me another night of self-introspection. He said, do you know what you are, Kelly? "You are a pathological liar." And then he didn't say a word after that. I began to tell him, "That's not true. You hurt my feelings. How could you say that?" Blah, 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 and blah. Now, over the years, I've been told that I am one of those rare people who can look at themselves and make valid attempts to correct my life's course corrections. So that night, I thought about it again. Why would this man call me a pathological liar and refuse to utter another word? I thought I was the most honest person who I knew. Now, if you think my head hurt badly the first night, the second night was hell on earth. I was so mad that I didn't even want to talk to him, but every time I looked at my phone, I felt the need to call him, and so I finally did. He answered the phone as if nothing had happened, while I, meanwhile, was in the depths of hell since the last time we spoke. After our salutations, I paused, which is something that I didn't always do. I asked, "Why did you call me a pathological liar? Why did you say that? Why did you think I was lying to you?" He said something to me that literally changed my life. He said, "I never said you were lying to me. I said you were lying to yourself." And what did that set up? It set up night 3 of World War III. I thought someone had to have set off a nuclear explosion in my brain. I had no way of truly understanding what he meant because I responded to his statement as if, now I got it, but I didn't have it. So after World War III and a few nuclear explosions later, I found myself speaking with him again. And somehow I knew that he was waiting on me to beckon the answers. Now, sometimes in life, the most difficult thing to do is easier said than done. This one statement literally put me on a roller coaster of emotions. I remember telling my friend about my childhood, about my bullying, about therapy, about bad relationships, and so on. And he would listen to me for hours. Sometimes he said a couple things to echo what I was saying, but most of the time he just listened. At times, I didn't think I was interesting to him for the economy of words he saved. So of course I kept talking, and this was the easiest person in the world to talk to. So I just didn't know if he was actually listening. I really had no clue. And then he spoke, finally, on the 5th or 6th day. He said, "Kelly, let's take a look at a small fraction of your life. You know when you were in school and you were being bullied? Let's talk about that for a few minutes." And since I had already told him everything, I thought, why not? What do I have to lose? He began to tell me that in his mind's eye, this beautiful young lady standing in the doorway of the student cafeteria, wondering where I would sit that day, unsure that if I sat with the popular girls, if I would belong, unsure if I sat with the bullies, would they hurt me, unsure if I sat with the academics, if I were smart enough, unsure if I sat with the teachers, if they would look upon me as a teacher's pet, and unsure if I sat with the cheerleaders, if they would accept me. And if you want to know something, that was me in his mind's eye. I thought, how did this man know this? He began to explain to me that what he saw in me as an older, wiser person was that I had a skewed thought process as it related to others. And this had started pretty early on in my life. He continued to say that from this point of view, that I was too good for the bullies, too pretty for the popular girls, too smart for the academics, and I was the teacher's pet, and that I probably never wanted to be a cheerleader in the first place. And he summed it up by saying, "Do you even understand, Kelly, that you are above all that? You could have sat with anybody you pleased if you had changed your attitude about yourself." I recall him telling me, "Remember, Kelly, I never said that you were better than them. It's just that you were above all of that." I asked him, "How could you know that?" And he said, "Because I've listened to you and I'm talking to you now." And I, for the first time in my life, felt like someone actually understood me, at least on a rudimentary level. And it was so refreshing. And in my brain, I did not want to go through another night of headaches, so I kept talking. And I asked if he would elaborate. Right about now, it would make sense to tell you that when I was in the 2nd grade, I had a crush on a boy and I thought he liked me. But I quickly observed as a 7-year-old that he had given another young girl a peck on the cheek right in front of me. To make matters worse, earlier that day prior to kissing her, he approached me and instead of giving me a peck on the cheek, he pulled out a napkin, he kissed the napkin, and then he pressed it against my arm. I was crushed. I never got my peck on the cheek. Might I add that this girl was in my Girl Scout troop with me, and she was also my friend. I again was crushed, and this was my earliest memory of self-doubt. I asked myself, why did he like me? Why didn't he give me a peck on the cheek? So, of course, naturally, I began to spiral downwards. Okay, so I'm back on the phone with my friend, and then he brings up this episode that I just explained and asks me to look at the situation differently over all these years. He said, "Could it be, Kelly, that the reason the boy kissed the napkin and pressed it against your arm instead of kissing you, and at the same time giving your little Girl Scout friend a kiss on the cheek? Could it be just that he knew he could kiss her, but that he may have been intimidated to kiss you?" He said, "I've seen your childhood photos, and you were the prettiest girl in your class." Now, this was an epiphany to me. I said, wow, I never thought about it that way. Heck, why would I? I'd always been told that I was pretty, but at the same time, the same people were telling me that I was dumb, clumsy, or not good at this or not good at that. Hence, I had no self-esteem. So I accepted a lie early on in my life as my truth, and it caused me to damage myself from those days forward to just a few years ago. Many such incidents occurred to me throughout the years, assisting in solidifying my low self-esteem, my low self-worth, my ability to believe prevarication, my insistence on giving my power away, which we will talk about in another video, and my overall inaccurate understanding of myself. It wasn't that he didn't kiss me was the problem. The problem was that I didn't know that he could not. The truth is, everybody lies, and quite a few of us lie to ourselves. But once we learn that the only people who get hurt lying are me, myself, and I needed to explore how I could enumerate and discern my self-taught lies and my pathological lying. Somehow facing those lies and having someone who I could trust to tell me the truth. Here at abuserefuge.org, we employ techniques and therapies designed to reach your lies too, trigger a sense of clarity for you, and especially for those people around you. Once you begin to walk in truth, your choices in life become many. Our lies prohibit us from seeing the outside world as it truly is. We've masked our realities and superimposed cloaks of facades over us, and even some of us can go into our mind's eye closet and pull out a different lying cloak for every situation. One of our most initial and principal tasks here at abuserefuge.org is to assist the abused with finding clarity and truth, and from there, all things are possible. Thank you for watching our video today, as I hope that this presentation sheds some light on your journey towards the truth. There are many levels of therapy, counseling, and discussion we offer to bring about the change you need in your life. This is the first step of getting beyond the abuses in your life. If you found this video helpful, please support us with donations at abuserefuge.org or by clicking on the link in our YouTube channel. Please do not hesitate to contact us if you need us. That's why we are here. Breathing life into those who need it. I'm Kelly Dean, National Executive Director and co-founder of abuserefuge.org.